Welcome to TechieCastJax, where the top technology and business experts around discuss the latest trends in high tech. This podcast is hosted by Joe Holbrook, who's an experienced technologist pundit in Jacksonville, Florida.
Welcome, everyone, to TechieCastJax. Today, really excited to be talking about Google Cloud Architect demand and salary. Now, one of the common questions I would get would be around what is the range of salary or contract rate I would likely receive as a cloud architect specializing with Google Cloud. Well, that's a really, really good question. And a lot of it just comes down to the fact that it depends on your area, your location, your specializations, also your experience, of course, and the type of organization that you're working with. Now, I did some research and I went through some of the surveys that are out there. I went through Glassdoor, LinkedIn, Monster Dice, and all of these other common sites that we would go to look for work and get some insight into salary. There's some really good salary ranges out there that I think are worth talking about. Now, it is important to realize that Google Cloud does actually have some of the highest salaries out there for cloud professionals right now. Matter of fact, the normal range for a cloud architect is going to be anywhere from approximately $122,000 up to $190,000. And the average range for salary, now, for example, if I look at ZipRecruiter has a range of around a low end of 35. I'm not sure where they got that number, but a high number of 194. And the national average is going to be $135,980 per year. So that's not a bad salary range, and it's higher than AWS's, for example. Another site I like to go to is Glassdoor. Now, Glassdoor has salaries pretty much right in the same range. There's a little bit lower at about $168K for the median or average. And then LinkedIn seems to come in somewhere between 122 and 171 again. And that seems to be about the salary range. They don't really have a medium listed, at least from what I could find. Now, as far as salary.com, the range that they have is 125 to 152 a year, and that's for Cloud Solutions Architect. It doesn't really narrow down Google or AWS, so that's, again, more of a hybrid approach that they use. Now, Google Cloud demand, there's no question, is picking up slightly. Going to Google Trends, it seems like it's up slightly too overall. I wouldn't say that it's noticeable, but I do certainly feel like, there's more demand, at least from what I notice. Now, looking at trends, I don't see it, but I'm certainly getting more requests, and I'm seeing a lot more people interested in Google Cloud as well. So the question is, that goes along with what the salary is, what do I do to prepare and get certified and go out there and start applying for good jobs? Well, one of the things that I typically would recommend to people is, of course, to go out there and look at the job postings. The reality is now in the cloud, we need to have Kubernetes. We need to have Python. We need to have, for example, other skills that are not only hard skills, but soft skills. A lot of the roles now are going to be support or pre-sales roles. And we need to, of course, have people skills where we're going to interact and understand what people are looking for, be able to listen and solve problems. One of the things that I ran into quite a bit as a pre-sales architect is, again, trying to take in what the problem is or what the goal is of the customer to be able to solve that problem for the customer with a technology-based solution. That solution could be a piece of hardware, or it could be a piece of software, or it could be a service, whatever it is. So one thing about Google Cloud right now is most of the work seems to also focus on migrating. So migrating from on-prem to Google Cloud. Now, I think there's another skill that somehow doesn't seem to get put on paper quite a bit, but it's there. And what I mean is that skill is really going to be around, for example, the whole enterprise architecture. Now, everybody thinks, cloud, well, what's that have to do with enterprise architecture? Well, it has a lot to do with enterprise architecture nowadays. Companies still have on-prem resources. Companies still can't just go directly to the cloud. They have to take baby steps or small steps or whatever you want to call it. Now, when we're preparing to go out there and get a new role and ask for that really high salary, one of the things I would recommend to you to consider is to show your enterprise skills. It's not just about the cloud, it's about the enterprise. You're not going to get the big money working for high school or the college. You're going to get the big money working for an enterprise. How does that email integrate with Active Directory? And how does LDAP integrate with all these other services? And how does federation work? And all of these things are clearly requirements, but they don't typically put it down. I have seen instances where companies would, expect a candidate to have this skill set, but they don't really put it in the job requirements. It's, mostly all the technical skills like TCP/IP and PKIP and Cisco technologies. It's just some of this, again, the job descriptions are not actually written in a lot of cases by the folks doing the work. They're sort of, assembled, by folks in the middle like HR or the hiring manager, maybe a third party, who knows? And sometimes things get lost in translation, I think. So with that said, before I wrap up here, the salaries are pretty high. Go out there, check them out. Go to Glassdoor, go to LinkedIn, go to salary.com, go out there to, numerous other sites. Also, too, there is a survey out there by Global Knowledge that goes into their annual salary survey. Google Cloud was actually one of the highest salaries in IT this year in 2020 and 2019 as well. It came in at $175,761. It's the Global Knowledge Salary Survey dated February 2020. Check it out. It basically goes into, again, why it's, as high as it is and why the demand might be there as well. With that said, that's all that I have. Please do check out the blog post on the GCP Gurus that I have a lot more detail there around salary and demand. Thank you for joining. Carry on.